I stood in my new garage, wrench in hand, staring at the vintage motorcycle I'd been restoring for months. The chrome gleamed under the overhead lights, every bolt tightened with precision that only comes from years of practice. This wasn't just a hobby. It was my sanctuary, my proof that patience and skill could transform something broken into something beautiful. The garage was attached to my house, a 2-story colonial with a wraparound porch that I'd bought after 8 years of saving every penny from my work as an automotive engineer. No roommates splitting utilities, no landlord's rules about modifications, no compromise. Just me, my tools, and the satisfaction of owning something I'd earned through countless overtime hours and weekend projects. The house wasn't massive, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and this garage that had sold me on the property. But it was mine. No co-signers, no family loans, no shortcuts. Every mortgage payment came from my own account. Then my phone rang, shattering the peace. Mom's contact photo flashed on the screen at 7:47 a.m. "Marcus," she said, her voice unusually formal. "Your father and I need to discuss something important with you about the house. Can you come over this morning?" I thought maybe they wanted to see my progress on the bike, to finally acknowledge what I'd built. Instead, when I arrived at their kitchen table an hour later, they told me they wanted me to give my house to my younger brother Tyler. They said I owed it to the family, that I was being selfish for keeping what I'd worked for while Tyler struggled with his art career. 3 weeks later, they served me with legal papers demanding I transfer the deed. My name is Marcus Rivera, I'm 31 years old, and this is the story of how I fought to keep what was mine, and how one moment in court exposed the lies they'd built their case on. Let me take you back to that morning when everything changed. After hanging up with Mom, I set down my wrench and called them back. Dad's face appeared on the video call, stern and unreadable. "We've been thinking," he said without preamble, "and we believe it would be fairer if Tyler had the house." The words hit me like a wrench to the gut. "What?" "He's struggling with his photography business," Mom chimed in from off-screen. "You're doing well, Marcus. You could easily afford another place." The pressure built in my chest, not sharp, but steady like a vice slowly tightening. "We sacrificed for you," Dad continued, his voice carrying that tone he used when he'd made up his mind. "It's time you gave back to the family." I didn't respond immediately, just listened to the silence stretching between us. Then Mom appeared beside Dad, her expression soft but determined. "Marcus, we gave you everything we could. Now we're just asking you to do the same for your brother." My throat felt tight. "You didn't give me this house." "No," she admitted, "but we raised you. You wouldn't be where you are without us." The words were practiced, not cruel but hollow, like someone had scooped out my chest with a spoon. Then she said it. "You're being selfish." That word, selfish, cut deeper than the rest. As if keeping what I'd earned was a betrayal of everything they'd taught me. Dad leaned closer to the camera. "You have a moral obligation to this family, son." I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I ended the call, not out of anger, but because I knew if I stayed on that line, I might lose the part of me that still believed in myself. Tyler, my brother, 2 years younger, had always been the one who needed rescuing. He had a fine arts degree, no steady income, but thousands of Instagram followers who loved his moody street photography. He lived at home, waiting for his big break, and it always came. Late rent? My parents covered it. Camera equipment stolen? They bought him better gear. When he crashed his car during a photo shoot in the mountains, they gave him another. Me. I took the bus until I was 24. I'd been working since I was 15, oil changes at my uncle's shop, then parts delivery, then night shifts at an auto parts warehouse. Whatever paid enough to survive. By 19, I was on my own. I didn't go to senior prom. I was saving for a 1992 Camaro with 180,000 miles and a transmission that slipped in third gear. I lived in studio apartments that smelled like motor oil and instant ramen. I went to community college, took night classes in mechanical engineering, then transferred to state school. I worked full-time while studying, survived on energy drinks and determination. It wasn't magic, it was grind. Meanwhile, Tyler was in Portland finding his artistic voice, his rent, equipment, and gallery submissions all funded by my parents. When I emailed Mom's sophomore year asking for $200 for textbooks, she replied, "We're focusing our financial support on Tyler's career right now. Hope you understand." I did. I stopped asking. But even then, I never imagined they'd try to take my house, the one thing I'd built without them, because Tyler needed a foundation. 2 weeks after that call, A process server knocked on my door with legal documents. My parents, Roberto and Maria Rivera, were suing me. The claim: failure to repay familial debt and obligation. They wanted to transfer my house to Tyler, with me assuming his credit card payments and paying $3,200 for emotional damages. Apparently, that's what raising me cost. I sat on my living room floor, surrounded by moving boxes I still hadn't unpacked, and let the silence settle. The house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like evidence in a case I didn't know I was fighting. They claimed I owed them because I wouldn't be successful without their early investment. As if my life was a portfolio they could manage, as if love came with an invoice. But that's not how I remember it. I'd been working since I was 15, scraping by on tips and overtime. When I asked for help, book money, rent assistance, a co-signature, it was always the same. We're prioritizing Tyler's career. I learned to disappear, to be the capable one, the quiet one. The more I succeeded, the more invisible I became. And now they were suing me because I dared to build something they couldn't control. The day after I was served, Tyler posted an Instagram story. A sunlit garage with vintage motorcycles, tools organized on pegboards, the caption reading, "Can't wait to turn this space into a photography studio. So grateful to my family for fighting for what's right." It wasn't my garage, just some Pinterest image, but the comments poured in. "You deserve it, bro. A real artist needs proper workspace." He knew I'd paid the $45,000 down payment from my savings, that I'd worked double shifts for years to make this possible. But to Tyler, my house wasn't mine. It was his opportunity. Maybe my success was a threat because it hadn't been handed to him. It's not that Tyler was cruel. He could be charming, thoughtful even, calling for advice about clients or equipment. But he lived in a different story, one where he was the overlooked artist, the sensitive son who just needed the right break. My parents fed that story like gospel. He's had a difficult path. Mom once said when Tyler came home early from a photography workshop in Colorado because the energy wasn't right. Difficult path. Meanwhile, I was getting audited by the IRS for filing incorrectly as a contractor instead of an employee. I handled it quietly, like always. My cousin Elena, Dad's niece, called that week, upset I hadn't invited her to my college graduation years ago. "You've let success go to your head," she said. I didn't tell her I hadn't invited anyone, that I'd worked a double shift that day instead of walking. Later, I learned she was funding my parents' lawsuit, not because she believed Tyler deserved the house, but because she thought I needed to be humbled. That's what favoritism does when it's dressed as fairness. It doesn't scream or slap. It smooths things over for one child while the other learns to disappear. And when the quiet one refuses, it looks like rebellion. For years, I'd been the invisible one, the one who didn't ask for much and got even less. I remember being 18, standing in the kitchen asking Mom if she could help with $75 for a bus pass to get to work. She sighed, said money was tight, and turned back to her phone. The next week, Tyler got a new lens for his camera to support his creative journey. I didn't get jealous. I got quieter. I worked harder, saved more, built a career in automotive engineering through late nights and endless certifications. I didn't go to private colleges or take spring breaks in Cabo. I lived in apartments with peeling paint, ate meals from dollar stores, and taught myself CAD design on a secondhand laptop that crashed every hour. My parents called Tyler artistic, sensitive, full of potential. They called me practical, which was code for "you'll figure it out." And I did. I figured out how to pay my own way, how to climb without their help, how to save every penny until I could buy a house with no strings attached. But the moment I did, they saw it as a resource. Not for me, but for Tyler. The lawsuit wasn't just about the house. It was about control. I didn't belong to them anymore, and that terrified them. They'd built a family where Tyler was the star and I was the stagehand, expected to stay in the shadows, to clap for his spotlight. When I stepped into my own light, they didn't celebrate, they panicked. They thought they could pull me back, that their moral obligation talk would guilt me into compliance. But I wasn't that quiet son anymore. I'd been preparing for this, even if I didn't know it. Over the years, I'd kept records, not out of spite, but survival. Emails from college asking for help with tuition, books, rent, always met with "we're focusing on Tyler." Bank statements showing every deposit I'd made on my own. Receipts from my first jobs, my first car, my first apartment. I didn't know why I saved them, but they were there, a quiet archive of my independence. And now they were my armor. The first hearing was 3 months after I got the papers. I arrived early, no lawyer, just a dark suit I'd worn to job interviews and a folder packed with every document I'd spent weeks preparing. Bank statements, pay stubs, the mortgage agreement, closing disclosures, the wire transfer confirmation for the down payment. When my parents walked in, I barely recognized them. They weren't alone. Tyler clung to Mom's arm, and behind them was cousin Elena, hair styled, eyes sharp. They all wore matching navy polo shirts with embroidered text. Family unity. I didn't react, just faced forward and waited. The courtroom was cold, fluorescent, nearly empty except for the judge, clerk, court reporter, and a few strangers on the benches. The bailiff called our case. We stood. Their lawyer, a tired-looking man in an ill-fitting suit, read their claim. The Riveras contend that Marcus would not be in his current financial position without their emotional, physical, and financial investment. In light of Tyler's financial hardship, Marcus should transfer the home to Tyler while servicing the mortgage for 18 months. The judge looked at me. "Do you have a response, Mr. Rivera?" I stood, my voice steady. "Your Honor, I am the sole mortgage holder. I paid every dollar myself. There is no co-signer, no loans from my parents, no legal obligation." I handed over my records. Silence stretched. Then the circus began. Tyler stepped forward, tears in his eyes, and tried to embrace me. "I forgive you," he whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I forgive you for pushing this so far." I stepped back. He stumbled. Mom gasped like I'd struck her. Elena muttered, "Ungrateful little boy." The judge banged her gavel. "Order, please." Their lawyer presented photo albums from childhood camping trips I barely remembered. A $8.50 McDonald's receipt from 2004 as evidence of investment. A screenshot of a text I'd sent, "Love you guys," labeled proof of emotional connection. Tyler pitched turning my garage into a photography studio, a creative sanctuary for emerging artists. The judge asked, "Have you earned income from photography?" Tyler hesitated, smiled. "I'm a visual storyteller. I'm building my brand. These things take time." "What is your current monthly income?" the judge pressed. Tyler looked at Mom, who answered, "He's in a transitional phase." Then the judge turned to me. "Mr. Rivera, is there anything else you'd like to submit?" I nodded, handing over a small folder of emails from college. Asking for help, always denied because we're focusing on Tyler's career. The judge read in silence, then leaned back, her eyes scanning the room like she saw the truth they'd tried to bury. For days later, the ruling came. Case dismissed. No legal merit. No drama. Just a quiet line on paper that said what I'd known all along. You can't sue your child for independence. But the silence didn't last. The next day, my security cameras caught Tyler standing near my motorcycle in the driveway, nervous, fidgeting, then leaving after 20 minutes. Elena appeared with a can of spray paint, pausing when the motion light activated, then walking away. I filed a police report. The next morning, Tyler launched a GoFundMe. "Help me rebuild after my brother stole my opportunity." He used a stock photo of a photography studio, claimed I'd manipulated the system, and abandoned family values. Mom posted in local Facebook groups, calling me ungrateful, saying I'd torn the family apart. Then came the text. "Due to recent events, Marcus will not be welcome at Christmas until he makes things right." I didn't respond. I ordered pizza and watched a documentary about deep-sea exploration. The family group chat unraveled days later. My cousin Diego spoke first. "You paid for Tyler's $150,000 education, while Marcus worked night shifts for community college. Now you want Marcus's house." Another cousin chimed in. "Remember when I asked for $100 for textbooks and you said money was tight, but bought Tyler a new camera the same week?" The chat exploded. Quiet family members remembered what had been overlooked. Even Grandpa Luis, Dad's father, spoke up. "You two are a disgrace. He succeeded in spite of you, not because of you." That sentence hit harder than the court ruling. It was the first time someone in this family said it out loud. 8 months later, I haven't spoken to my parents. They text sometimes. Mom writes, "We're struggling financially. When will you come home? Your brother can't find steady work. He's hurting, Marcus." Dad sent one cold email. "When will you forgive us?" Family should stick together. I don't reply or block them. I let the words arrive and go nowhere. Tyler works part-time at a coffee shop, posting Instagram stories about difficult customers and toxic family dynamics. His GoFundMe was shut down for violating guidelines. Elena got a formal warning at work for using her company email to harass me. The house is quiet now, but secure. A German shepherd named Diesel sleeps in the garage while I work. I adopted him 4 months ago. He's got a graying muzzle and a limp from an old injury, like he's been through something too. We understand each other. Grandpa Luis visits Sundays, bringing groceries and helping with house projects. He'd tried to see me for years, but my parents always had excuses. Too busy, too tired. Now we eat simple meals, talk about engines and wood grain, things that don't require performance. Last week, he showed me a photo from my college graduation. I hadn't invited anyone, but there he was in the parking lot, hands in his pockets, watching from behind a fence. "I never missed you," he said. "I just wasn't allowed close." Then he looked at me and added, "I'm proud of you, Marcus. You didn't let them take what wasn't theirs." I didn't cry, just nodded, poured him more coffee, and sat as the sun set over the backyard. Sometimes I want to explain, to send one long message laying out every unpaid favor, every quiet hurt, every time I didn't scream. But then Diesel curls up by the workbench, the light fades soft across the garage floor, and I remember, I don't owe anyone an explanation for surviving well. The deed stays in a drawer by the kitchen window. It's not just a house, it's proof I got out, stayed out, and didn't come back for their approval. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about the times you've been overlooked or fought for what's yours, smash that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next story. Drop a comment below. Tell me about a time you stood your ground or broke free from someone else's expectations. Let's start a conversation. Your voice matters, and I'm listening.